Professor Darrell Hamamoto joins us. Thank you so much. I wanted to air that just to break down what you're talking about. I'm going from memory, but I think the first time you visited with us was maybe 6 months ago, and you were predicting they were trying to start a massive new racial division along every line as their social engineering program goes into high gear. That has indeed happened, Professor, as you predicted it. One of the top experts on this type of social engineering. Break down what you currently think's going on.
Well, first, let me address that clip that you just aired. For me, the way I look at it, this is a living example of the woman who's the product, most likely, of multi-generational state-managed welfarism, which upper middle class and professional blacks in the professions and the service industry manage as a comprador class. This is what you see on Fox News and CNN and individuals going on talking about how your children belong to the state, versus a recent immigrant from Africa, south of the Sahara, whose family does not have a history of welfarism, who are entrepreneurs and are interested in only earning a livelihood for their families. But perhaps a better representation of sentiment amongst the black underclass is a very poignant encounter between Joel Gilbert, the director, in his new DVD, his documentary. I think it's called A Place Called Utopia, where he goes into a Detroit neighborhood and interviews welfare recipients, so-called welfare, because it's not really welfare. It's modern neo-plantation slavery. And he polls them, he's canvassing them, he's trying to get their sentiments, their ideas about what it's like. And it's quite impressive, the sense of not just struggle, but resistance to this system that's keeping them down. They're dimly aware of it, and they don't like it. They want off of it. They want to contribute. They want to work. They want to be productive. And that's innate to all humanity. We want to produce. We want to reproduce. We want to extend ourselves as a species into the future. And work is a linchpin of that very idea of civilization. And that's been stripped of us here in America systematically over the years, and it's accelerating. And the bad news, it's now the middle class, including middle class professionals, are the next group to fall.
And that's the Agenda 21 globalist plan on record. I want you to break down why the ruling system has decided to go to this. They've got the robots coming out to replace us, even the military to be replaced. Men aren't even going to be able to fight anymore, even though there's obvious cultural problems with war. That is still an instinct that has a proper place. That's to be removed. Women can't be feminine anymore. They really want it homogenized. They claim they want sexual liberation and freedom, but really the end game, in my view, is to actually end our sexual natures and actually end our diversity. It's an anti-human movement.
It's going to be a monoculture, mono-government, monosexuality, mono-everything. It's going to be synthesized into the type of utopian equality that your Huxley-type people have been envisioning for close to 100 years now. But in thinking about some of your earlier comments in today's program, including pension bust-outs and all that, I more and more understand that places like the University of California are really the microcosm of this plan. It's a microcosm of the New World Order, if you will, that will be imposing this regime, and it's in an advanced stage of imposing this regime of GMOs, which are affecting our intellect, our reproductive capacity, bringing in the borderless economy, so-called, sin fronteras, right? The internationhood, the international sovereignty, the genderless society, and then, very importantly, ethnic balkanization. So the question is, these ideas, these pieces of social, political, economic, and cultural engineering don't come out of nowhere. They have a genesis. They have a point of origin, and one of the main points of origin is the University of California. Most of these agenda items that are being implemented by the quote-unquote New World Order are funded by the foundations. I have been a recipient of these foundation grants, And this is what the people who print the money, including private family foundations, they go in there and they set an agenda by doling out money in specific areas, only. You notice that the Soros Foundation or the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they do not fund initiatives that deal with neighborhood entrepreneurialism, immigrant business entrepreneurialism, or anything that has to do with the free market or any other aspects of a free and healthy society.
Anything decentralized, they are against it. And when you look at the plan, they all say it's liberal, classical American liberalism, but it's the opposite of liberalism. It is a Borg, hive, post-human system.
It's post-human, it's transhuman, and it's, I guess the best image is that it's a molester that's handing you the candy. You know, it's quite seductive. Someone like Gruber, of course, is motivated by status. He was the kid in junior high school who had his gym trunks pulled down, and he spent the rest of his life trying to pay back all these bullies. And that's really endemic to academia. What you're seeing is Gruberismo, I call it. And it's all these very, very little people who happen to be somewhat smart and they have credentials. And they're, well, I don't know if I can psychoanalyze, but they're paying back to society, but they're also getting the rewards and the recognition and the accolades by these illusory.
Well, sure, I watched a bunch of those videos in full, not just the clips we played, and he would be there teaching professors and PhD students how to lie and how the world really works. So I guess you get a PhD now, according to him, to learn the inside baseball of pure BS. And whereas that always went on from what I've seen in some special PhDs the last 100 years in this country, in England and Germany, it wasn't like they'd get on C-SPAN and brag about it. So it does show really the arrogance of how stupid they think we are.
It's arrogance, and I was listening to one of your earlier interviews this week. I forgot who the guest was, but he referred to it as a narcissism, a lot of these high-ranking military.
That's Dr. Steve Pachenik, yeah.
Dr. Steve Pachenik, great mind, great intelligence, and great analyst, and I really enjoy listening to him. His fiction's not so great, but I like him as a political analyst. I read everything. I check into all your guests. But yes, it's endemic to all the institutions. This is maybe the outgrowth of the me generation, the narcissistic generation of the 1960s, which was also a psyop, which was also a product of culture engineering. We're seeing this. We have to, going into the next year, 2015, learn a bit of humility and reject hubris, because universally and through time, the poets, the writers have warned us in so many different ways that this is what happens to individuals like Gruber. And he's just emblematic of a large number and growing numbers of people, even people of the underclass who feel that they're entitled to have a free bottle of water. So we have to, I think, look very deeply into our souls over the holidays and see what we can do to help inspire young people. For example, I'm an educator, and I'm trying to teach these values. Fortunately, a lot of my students are the children of immigrants, of refugees. They understand the work ethic. They understand the sacrifices that their parents are making for them. And they understand through their parents the value of enterprise, family, and all really basic core American values.
So do they understand how the social engineers are trying to co-opt them?
Exactly. And I warn them not to fall into the clutches of the university curricular establishment and student services, which has taken that energy, taken that vitality, that youth, that idealism, warping it, twisting it, and misdirecting it, and smashing it with the end game of destroying their spirit and their soul. So they, too, will enter this new, larger, controlled welfare system. This is what's going on, I think, nationally, talking to different colleagues.
That's right.
Young people are really, really being assaulted, including their finances, student debt. It's pretty common now, and even corporate media, that the amount of student debt is much, much worse and higher, and much more, will be more devastating.
And they're going to bankrupt education when they're done with the bubble and then nationalize it fully, just like they're going to bankrupt the pensions, then nationalize it. But it's not even nationalized, it's private interest. We're being conquered, and the minute people realize that, it's game over. Now, obviously, the Republican Party's full of a bunch of crooks at the top, but this major political realignment, now Boehner is ignoring all of it. They're going to go with the open border. They're going to go with the banker bailouts. They're going to sign on to derivative bailouts. Just more. But politically, they did send a bunch of new people there who are trying to fight against that, some of them. But I think the message, even though imperfect, shows there is an awakening happening.
There's a mass awakening, even large numbers and growing numbers of self-satisfied professors who live in college towns and think they're immune from the currents of economic decline, and think that they really believe that race, ethnicity, and gender is the end-all and be-all of understanding. And it only explains a really, really small part of the problems that we're facing. So what I have done in order to get them into the tent, so to speak, is to bring to their attention that their security is an illusion. Their retirement, their pension, the UC investment fund has been eyed hungrily by the wolves of Wall Street for many years now, and they're just waiting for an opportune time to go in there for the kill. They're kind of circling the prey right now. They're taking their pulse. But once I make my colleagues aware that this is their strategy, and they have Janet Napolitano in place there, and they've got the MRAPs and the militarized campuses there in case there's any sort of dissent, and they have the students bought off in their little ethnic identity politics going on.
They got them nicely balkanized and segregated like the old city of Rome.
Precisely. We have all the different factions and perpetual tension. And they bring in presidents or chancellors such as Linda Katehi, who's a Greek national. I don't know if she's even a U.S. citizen, who, according to my research, and this is how you attack them. You do your homework, you find the biography. It's very easy. It's open source. And she comes from a network, an international network to nationalize and socialize and globalize institutions of higher education. Of course, absolutely. And she was one of the leading consultants for the destruction of the higher education system in Greece.
Yep.
And that is coterminous with the destruction of the larger Greek economy. They go hand in hand.
Well, notice how they use mainstream media. This is a formulae to attack and dumb people down, but then that discredits it. Then they just get rid of it entirely and have nothing but direct government pronouncements. This is the plan. The people that sell out to it within 20, 30 years end up being betrayed, and now it's compressing where it's happening quicker and quicker.
That's right. Individuals like Linda Katehi and her underlings, and Janet Napolitano, and even Professor Gruber, they think that they can outrun the history train, but they won't be able to. They'll be pulled out beneath it, just like the rest of us, perhaps a little bit later down the line.
It really is crazy. I mean, Congress thought they could turn the NSA loose to spy on everybody, and that they wouldn't be spied on and blackmailed by it, and now we know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we have information and data, and Rupert Murdoch in Britain is involved in the hacking scandal. Even the royals have most of their personal information in the database for blackmail and control.
Exactly, and we see all these pedophile scandals coming out now to force England to go into the EU. This is really a diabolical plan, and I don't know how the couple thousand people, even the Kissinger Group says it's less than 6,000 people that manage it, only a few dozen families that run it. They have created a monster to dominate us that will be the monster that undoubtedly destroys them. Professor, stay with us. We'll be right back on the other side. I want to take some phone calls for you, but also give you the floor to cover all the hot topics that I know you're covering and what you're telling your students. Professor Darrell Hamamoto from UC, California, is joining us. We'll give the number out when we come back. Stay with us. I want to open the phones up for Professor, who joins us right now, but I want to give him some time, Professor Darrell Hamamoto. to get into any other big points he wants to make here today, to talk about any repercussions he's had. I know they've criticized him before for speaking out about how they're trying to create a Hispanic racial bloc in this country for social engineering purposes and a permanent underclass, because they don't want folks to learn English. It's the world language. They would be upwardly mobile. They want to keep them in their little barrios where the El Jefes can control them, just as we see a permanent underclass